Everybody, welcome to a very special edition of The Wire. I am Bradley with Madden Elite. Appreciate all of you checking this out. I mentioned it's a very special edition of The Wire. It is special because we are sitting down with someone that I've looked up to in the Madden space for quite some time, Nate from the OMFL. Nate, thank you so much for hopping on here. Appreciate you being on. For those who may not know you, how would you introduce yourself? Who are you, Nate? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Number one, Bradley, that's a high, high bar if you're looking up to me. We got to get you better friends. We got to have to get you some better people to look up to. I'm honored to kind of just be here with you on the wire. Thanks anybody for watching this. So, yeah, my name's Nate. I am from Louisiana. I'm a Southern boy at heart. I live in New Orleans, even though when I say in New Orleans, I live right outside of New Orleans. We moved here about 10 years ago. And 21 years ago, my wife made the mistake of buying me Madden on PC. I've been a gamer my entire life, like probably most of us. I grew up in like the gaming generation. I'm so old. I remember going to like Blockbuster every Friday night, hoping and praying that the new releases of video games had enough of them that I could still grab one for the weekend. And if they didn't have it, then you had to settle for like NHL or some other game. And so um, I grew up as a gamer, started to uh, dabble into the PC world. So, fun fact about Nate that no one cares about and everyone will forget is I grew up in the pet industry. So, my parents have owned pet stores my entire life. I owned a pet store for a bit. And so, the long story short there is that in that pet business, I got connected to a guy that owned a computer store. And I'm a techie, I love tech. And so he wanted a fish tank, a saltwater tank for his store. I wanted one of his extremely expensive computers. We made a little swappy swap, and I had like this nice, beautiful. It's like when LEDs first started coming out. So the case was lined in LEDs. It was just like the coolest computer to me. And I found out about this thing called online gaming. And so I started the OMFL with Madden 2001, which was the first PC game that they made, and we've been going at it ever since. It has been quite a journey that has seen many things kind of grow from that. As you said, I wear many hats. I know we'll kind of talk about that a little later, but I work full time as a national director of training for a sports nonprofit. I'm a pastor. I'm a dad. I'm a husband. This hurts, Bradley, but about to be a grandfather. And I run the Grown Folks Online Community, which is a group of PlayStation 4 or PlayStation, I should say, gaming community, shooters, Madden Leagues, all kinds of stuff. Plus, I run the OMFL and oversee the Deuce and do all of the like social media stuff. So, like the YouTube channels, the videos, the content, all of that for both my church community, myself, my personal website, and the Grown Folks. And Bradley, I need a nap now. Like I'm gonna need another cup of coffee after saying all that. So yeah, that's little old humble me, man.
Definitely a man of many hats. So I mentioned I look up to you a lot in the Madden space. So on that, I feel like the CFM space is a pretty small space, right? And I feel like a lot of Madden doesn't really give us a lot to work with sometimes. And but despite that, the space continues to innovate and it continues to grow, and a big part of that is the community leaders that we have. And I feel like a lot of times the innovation we have, it's a lot of those creators and innovators kind of piggybacking off of each other. So like one guy will do something and then we'll all see it and we'll all take it and do it in our own way. So we are a space that in many sense we are divided. We I think are a lot more united than what we think we are. Um,
Say it again for the people in the back, Bradley.
yes, sir. So, but yeah, you're a man of many hats, and I want to ask you, what are you excited about right now, Nate?
Bradley, first, I completely agree with you. I think there's so much that brings us together. This I'm gonna go on a rant. I'm not going to. I'm gonna answer your question, but I would say this whole
Go in your
idea of
rant. Go
trying
in
to
your
be the
rant.
best Madden League is so it's so short-sighted, Bradley. Like, there's no such thing as the best. There's just something that fits better for others. And when I see people like, so, again, I'm very humbled to hear that you look up to me. But I'm just a dude, and I will gladly give away anything that I have taught myself. But I look up to like guys like Soden and Matt and my guy Poppy over at Daddy Leagues. Like, these are just some of the like really cool humans on this planet that happen to play Madden. And you see people like Soden with some of the, like, he is the best graphics for his league out there, and his community is so engaging. And Matt and everything he's doing at League Crawler with his guy Mo in the podcast, there's just so much innovation and so much like really awesome stuff, like you said, that brings us together. That like I just don't want to get caught up on petty things that like when the community grabs the torches and the pitchforks and they want to go burn down EA. I'm just like, I don't want to waste my energy on that. To answer your question, what am I excited about? That's a good question. I'm excited. I actually am excited about the player movement. I'm excited about what the next gen is going to kind of unlock for these developers. I think it's really a lazy take, Bradley, that to assume that we understand why Madden is the way Madden is, that the developers are lazy, or the developers aren't putting in enough hours, enough work. I think that's a very lazy take. I think no one wakes up to be a failure. These men and women who work at Madden are killing themselves to not only please bosses and supervisors and people who probably have the bottom line in the mind, and us in the community who are very selfish. We, like MUT guys think about MUT, and CFM guys think about CFM, and Madden is trying to make everybody like the game. They're trying to make it where anybody can pick up the game because they can sell more copies. Like, they're a company who is here to make a profit. So anyway, I'm excited about the opportunities that next gen is going to unlock for them, and the things that maybe they'll be able to bring back and add back into the game. I'm excited about player movement. I personally like it. It is maybe a little bit slower than what some people enjoy, but I like the realistic movement. And I think that you kind of get, I would much rather a slightly slower game that has more realistic movement than one that's quicker, where we have the weird animations that get triggered, and just like gameplay that doesn't feel natural. So I think that those are the things that excites me the most. I'm also slightly excited about like all the rumors that we're hearing. We just kind of at Grown Folks got into kind of the news world of PlayStation, PUBG, Battlefield, Madden, 2K, NCAA. I think that's all the games that we're trying to cover. And so, we're kind of like trying to keep our ear to the ground and learn how to put out news. But there are these rumors, like we've heard Eric Rayweather say them, and they're kind of out in the Twitter universe about like, 2K is buying up things. ESPN's trying to get back in the gaming community, sports gaming community. EA is buying up different other smaller companies. And so like that excites me that we might be on the cusp of another sports gaming explosion. Because I think you and I both remember the days of like, you could play NCAA baseball, NCAA basketball. There was all of these sports games that you could get your hands on, and it led to innovation, right? It led to these companies forcing themselves to innovate, and I think that's what excites me the most. I think we're right on the cusp of something like that.
Yes, sir. So to kind of piggyback off what you kind of opened up there with the rabbit trail you went down about like not being keen on people being like, ah, we're the best. That there's something that I think I agree with completely. I've been in the Madden space for probably about 10 years. Handful of years ago, I was keen on being one of those individuals. Like, we're the best, we run the best ship. But like, I'm starting to realize like the moment I do that, I alienate all of these other leagues that are out there doing these amazing things. And I kind of, you do that, you kind of burn some bridges, rub some people wrong. And I think relationships are very important. I feel like I feel like the Madden space, the CFM space, is an amazing space, but I feel like the biggest issue, I don't really know if it's so much an issue, it's just kind of the reality of the matter. Like leagues that are out there doing media, there's usually a peak that most leagues don't get past, and that peak is 30 views. Right? It is very hard for a content driven league to surge past that. And really, the only way you would be able to do that is you have to extend your reach beyond your own. So it's important to find ways to foster those relationships. As for the gaming world, though, you're talking about how the OMFL and what you guys are doing. You're diving into gaming news, and you hit on all of these games that are in the pipes. Something that I'm really excited about is the college football. EA college football, I believe, is what they're calling it. I don't think they're calling it NCAA anymore. I think they're calling it college football or something. But a lot of people are like already discussing next year's Madden. For me, I'm looking past next year's Madden and I'm looking to 2023, the projected release of NCAA. I want to see EA college football and Madden be able to go hand in hand. And so I don't really care too much what this next Madden looks like or the next Madden. The Madden that I really have my eye set to is the one that's going to be in partnership with that college football game. Talking about the 2K games, though, when you mention the 2K games and the games that you guys are you guys covering the WWE 2K games?
Yeah, try to. So, the grown folks, I'm going to go back and touch on one other thing that you
Yeah,
said, because
yeah,
I just
yeah. We can
completely
slow it down.
agree with you that, like, communities that are the best don't have to scream that they're the
Mm-hmm.
best. People will figure it out on their own. And so I'm a big Simon Sinek guy. I read Simon's books. I watch a ton of his videos. For lack of a better term, I'm a Simon Sinek disciple. And trying to be the best is a very finite view. I actually have, over the last, I don't know, 5, 6, 8, 10 years, whatever it's been, kind of shifted my point of view. I'm actually not trying to be the best gaming community. I'm not trying to be the best, content creator, the best, Madden streamer or whatever games I'm playing, PUBG streamer. I'm actually just trying to create the best environment for relationships possible. I want people who come either to the OMFL, the grown folks, which, in case there's any confusion, so the OMFL is our Madden League, started as a PC league in 2001. As far as I know, the longest nonstop CFM in the world. I don't know of any other leagues that started that far back. Because I've been around a long time. I didn't run it the entire time. I've taken my breaks through as my life has grown. I was 24 when I started. I'm 41 now, and so I had kids. I started businesses. I started new jobs. I moved. I did a lot of stuff, and so there were times where I handed it off, and then was lucky enough to get it back a couple different times. And I've been running it for the last like 6 years or 5 years or 7 years. I don't know. Actually, it's been longer than that. It's been almost 10 years since I took back over. It's just crazy. Anyway, the long and short of it is we seemed that the guys in the OMFL wanted more. They played other games together, and I was like, well, let's just start a community then where guys get to play other things together. And I was super lucky to meet this guy named Pootie T. Pootie T helps Poppy over at Daddy Leagues. And I think that's how we originally got connected. He ran a league called the MBC, and they were our first addition to the grown folks community. We added them. And then before I knew it, over the last 4.5 years or so, it just kind of exploded. And at one point, I have to go update the numbers because I don't have them memorized, but we had like 7 Madden leagues and 7 other leagues. The reason I say all that is in case there's some confusion, and one of those leagues is a WWE league. And so we haven't played in almost 2 years because they stopped making a game. And so we just kind of took a break. But we would put out weekly shows. So everybody would create a character. We would put together match cards. People would record their intros, their matches. They would send it to me. I would edit it into a full blown hour and a half, 1 hour to hour and a half show that you could literally like watch on YouTube and watch a full show with characters and championships, and it was a ton of fun. So yeah, we will be covering some of that kind of internally, and if there is kind of if it becomes like an appetite where people want to see it externally. Look, we're new in kind of the news game. You hit the nail on the head. We were just kind of a I hopped around between YouTube was actually just like for many years just like a storage place, right? It was like you streamed on this platform over here, but you threw it on YouTube because it lived there forever, whereas Twitch would kind of delete stuff. I kind of moved away from Twitch in the past 6 months. Personal opinion, think Twitch is going to die. It's going to go away. It's not going to be a thing anymore. YouTube's going to be where everyone's at. And for the past like a year and a half, I've tried to really focus fully on YouTube, not only for my personal stuff. So I put out a lot of like motivational leadership relations stuff, plus, I pastor a church, so a lot of spiritual things. And then I run the grown folks community. And so, about 3 months ago, 4 months ago, we were like, man, there is this opportunity to put out gaming news. Let's jump into it. So I gathered a couple of guys who like to help me stay, kind of connected because I can't follow everything all the time. It's impossible. And so, yeah, we started putting out gaming news, just about updates. I think one of the things that we do that we really enjoy are our YouTube shorts. And so, YouTube shorts are less than a minute videos. They're kind of done in vertical mode so they can be watched on a phone. So a lot of our news will come out that way. And then we'll do like deeper dives that are much longer that people can watch if they want to. But we like putting out those YouTube shorts just because people can watch some quick news, get updates that they want, and kind of move on with their world. So yeah, we're going to cover some WDF stuff. You talk about sports gaming. That is another like genre of gaming that I think has so much potential, Bradley, of AEW's coming out with a game, WWE's coming out with a game. There's all kinds of other wrestling games. And like I think it's kind of building up to gonna be this really awesome, like, new thing, a new world of sports gaming. There's even rumors that 2K has pushed for an every other year release. I'm excited a little bit. I don't know that it's ever gonna happen, but a little bit of me is, like, excited that there's finally gonna be a company that has the cojones to make that call, and I think that would revolutionize sports gaming. If Madden came out with a game every other year, how good that game would be, and just gave us roster updates or whatever updates it is that we were looking for throughout those 2 years, or 2K or NCAA. There's just something that would give those developers time to really be innovative instead of just like chasing their tail.
Yeah. Um, I think Fortnite might have put out the model they should all take. It's a free to play game. However,
Yep.
the battle pass or whatever put out a pass, and you got to pay it a monthly fee. And I mean, EA's raking in the constant
Charge
money.
me EA can charge me for a CFM fee
Yeah,
and give me a free game. I would pay that. I would pay. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to put a number on it, but I would pay money per month, per year, whatever the thing would be for a CFM fee if there were like really strong servers and like
yeah,
all the commissioner tools and the engagement. We're doing a deep dive right now. So we do a podcast, which is crazy to think we've got over 200 episodes now. Our podcast is called Press Pass Live. And so we do it every Sunday night for the OMFL. And right now, I've got a couple of guys who play a lot of NHL. And so we're looking at the depthness of the NHL franchise. Now, it's an offline franchise, it's not an online franchise, but the depthness there, Bradley, is mind blowing. And I've always been one of those guys that, like, yeah, I'd like some more tools, but make the game play really well. Like, I don't beg too much for like, I'm not super excited about coaches. I'll be honest with you. Everybody's excited about coaches. I think it's going to be like neat for the first 5 minutes, and then it's going to be like, okay, that's over. Now what? And so I just don't. That doesn't feel exciting to me. But then you go look at NHL, and it is mind blowing. Just their scouting for their draft alone, from scouts and where you place them, and the money that you have to spend, to how you find players, and like just that portion alone would add Bradley, 20, 40 hours of engagement per season just to just do draft stuff. It is just mind blowing, kind of the stuff that's out there. And it gives me hope that there's potential, right? There someone out there is doing this right, and it tells you that there is the potential that EA could get it right with Madden.
Definitely really excited for this upcoming Madden with all the hype that we have right now around CFM. It'll be interesting to see what they could do, what they'll do. What would you think? What would you think if Madden drops and they give us everything that they have in NHL, but like NHL, they say, okay, we're giving you all of this, but it's offline only.
Yeah, I'd probably grab my pitchfork then. Yeah, I would have to go to EA. That would be, here's the thing, because I do feel the excitement. The excitement's kind of building. I do find it funny though that there's so much excitement about a teaser that came out. Like it's a teaser about the cover, friends. Like let's not get that excited. It's just the cover. I just think that we need to temper those expectations, because I just feel like there's going to be a large portion of this community that's kind of deflated. Like they're not going to like it's not going to be revolutionary. I think you
Yeah,
have the perfect concept. It's going to take time. It's going to take them years to add on to this. This is a long journey that we're a part of, and you're going to get a piece of it this time. But if you're thinking that you're going to open it and Madden's going to be this brand new, amazing, game that just kind of engages you all, it's just not, it's going to be the same game, okay, with some new stuff added to it. But this is part of a longer term game that we're playing here. And if we temper those expectations, then maybe we're surprised. Whereas, so I feel like the expectations are starting to get so high that like, there's no way EA is going to be able to come through with
yeah,
those. We're going to be disappointed, and then people will be grabbing their pitchforks and hashtagging fix Madden franchise and all this other stuff.
yeah. So, we chatted a little bit about the like the 2K games, the wrestling games. Um, I am a huge wrestling fan, right? And so
AEW, WWE.
I was about to ask you the same. And if you're
Ah, I'm an
asking,
AEW. I like them
if you're
both. Let me just say, I like them both. I don't pick sides, but I enjoy watching AEW.
So I stopped watching WWE, I think, in 2017, the year they jobbed Owens to Goldberg right before the Rumble or right before Mania. Have not
Yeah,
watched a full WWE
yeah,
show since, and I don't think I have ever loved wrestling as much as I do right now. There is so much stuff outside of the WWE that if
yep.
WWE fans would kind of look beyond the walls of that company, I think they would enjoy the wrestling a lot more. But
I was a Lucha Underground fan.
oh
Like
yeah,
I used to tune into that. That show was, even though it was a little more cinematic, I loved everything from the presentation to the arena to
mm-hmm,
the announcers. Like it was so good. I'm a New Japan fan. I
mm-hmm,
love watching Wrestle Kingdom every year. Like their shows are so good. Ring of Honor has taken a little bit of a step back
yeah,
since COVID. I think that their shows are a little boring right now because of COVID. But like even Impact is doing some innovative stuff, and I think AEW is kind of leading the way. It's cool again to be a wrestling
yeah.
fan, right? They're coming here also in January. We bought tickets like 2 years ago, it feels like, and it kept because of COVID getting delayed. But they're coming back in January, and we're going to be at an AEW show here in January. It's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait.
I'm hoping since AEW and New Japan are starting to work together, I'm hoping all of this is building to what would it be, Omega Okada number 5. They've gone 4 times now, right? And hopefully by that time Okada will have the belt, and then Omega will have his slew of belts, and hopefully the belt collector can add one more. But those Okada Omega
That would
matches,
be
like anyone who used to love wrestling that has fallen out of love with it, you need to look up the Okada Omega trilogy. Some of the most impressive matches you'll ever see.
also back in the day, Samoa Joe and Finn Balor matches in
Yeah.
NXT. Some of the best matches. Shinsuke and was it Balor? Who was Shinsuke going after in NXT? I don't know
Um,
why it's skipping my mind,
I
but those Shinsuke NXT matches
I
were awesome.
believe who was it? I don't even remember now. My mind blanks, but that
Yeah, I
was a
know it's been
really
so
good
long, but
period. That was a
those were
really good
some
period for
fun matches
NXT.
too.
That
Yeah.
whole period was. But anyways, there is a community in the wrestling space, the 2K wrestling space that I'm somewhat familiar with. You're a little bit more familiar with it than I am. But they use a term that I know the OMFL has adopted, and I want to talk about that a little bit. That term is fair play rules. I know you guys say over in Grown Folks that the OMFL is not a sim league. It is a fair play league. I'm interested to hear your take on this, and honestly, I think most sim leagues they may not realize it, but they are fair play leagues. I think it's a lot of the same, but I feel like one of the issues in the CFM community is this war debate over what sim is, and I don't think it has to be a war debate. I think in the end we all want the same thing, and that is to set a framework for our leagues to smoothly and fairly flow. So what's your take on this?
Riley, I completely agree with you. The OCW, which is the name of the uh, wrestling league. Awesome people, super intense. Like you think the Madden community can be intense. Those friends are intense about their wrestling in a good way. They put in so much work just to produce like literally a show every 7 to 10 days, multiple shows. They have multiple shows running. They kind of have like a tier system. It's pretty amazing. And in my time there, I made a lot of friends. I got to be honest, I had a hard time kind of connecting there. Probably some of my own stuff, but like it's a little bit of like sports teams, right? We kind of get that locker room thing going, and it's hard for an outsider to come in. The OCW is a little that way. At least it was from my experience. It was just kind of hard to kind of find your footing and break in. The veterans there weren't always super kind. It was this idea of like only the tough survive around here. I got to be honest. I got a soft heart and soft hands. I don't do really well in environments like that. When you come to the grown folks community, I'm probably overly nice. I show lots of mercy and grace. I rarely remove people and boot people unless they just kind of go way, way out and above. That's just who I am as a human. And so I don't do the dude thing really well. Like I can't, I have a hard time stepping into the broverse. That's very hard for me. And they kind of have a broverse going at the NC or the OCW. And so anyway, there though, I learned about this idea of fair play rules. And their idea was that we're going to have like these guidelines that are going to kind of guide the way we want our matches to look to keep things fair. And kind of keep the playing field even that way kind of we see the best matches. And they even had some like unwritten rules that were kind of tough, right? You didn't know if you broke them because they weren't necessarily rules, or they're kind of like baseball. There were these unwritten kind of things that you don't do. And so my time there learning, number one, it taught me character development in like a whole new way. Like literally it was on you. You had to create a character, come up with a story, and then play that character, and the lines would get blurred, right? Like when you were in chats or you were like just talking to somebody, sometimes you couldn't tell, like, are they playing their character or are they being like, they just don't like me and they're like being them real selves. Like you had a hard time. But it was like, it really forced me. I love being creative. I feel like I'm the most uncreative person ever. And so I got to work really, really hard. Some people have it really natural and it just like zoods out of them. I'm a white boy nerd. Like I have to work really, really, really hard at this stuff. And so it forced me about like how to think through a character and how to build a character in a lot of really cool ways. So anyway, there's a long backstory that nobody cares about. The way it connected here is that I was part of that first community that created this idea of sim and simulation and like simulating what we see. And we all understand the heart behind it, right? It's that what we see on Sunday, this idea of competition, this idea of anybody can win on any Sunday. How do we connect that with the CFM where is if you just log on and play a random game, there's no rules. People are going for it on fourth down. They're, doing running the same four plays over and over, which is still mind blowing to me that like Madden and ESPN advertises all these games where literally you just like I watched one championship, the guy ran like a fullback dive 99% of the time. I'm like, how is this fun for anyone to watch? But it is. And so anyway, I was part of that first community that created this idea of sim, and I was fully and am still fully supportive. When we say fair play here, which changed when I first got into the OCW. So the a little bit of history is that I was part of the OMFL. I kind of needed to take a step, handed the OMFL off to somebody, played as an owner. It took about a 2-year break, wanted to get back into leadership. The guy that was running it that I handed it off to just wasn't comfortable with letting me back into leadership. So I stayed there for a couple years, and then I decided, look, I'm really itching to get back into the space of leading. I'm gonna go do my own thing, and so I did. I didn't take a soul with me. I worked out a deal. I just told the guy, look, if you ever retire, though, I want my stuff back. Like I gave it to you. I just want my name back, my history back. Just give me my stuff back if you ever retire. If you never retire and you run it forever, then so be it. I'll go start my own thing. So I actually started the grown folks a Madden community. So it was a grown folks online, grown folks Madden League. That's what it was called. Grown folks Madden League. So originally grown folks community started as a Madden League. I ran it for two Maddens. And then that guy, the OMFL, retired. Um, Sent me a message saying, "Hey, I'm stepping out. You can have everything back. I'm done with leading a Mad League." So I actually changed the grown folks over to a community, took back the OMFL, all that fun stuff. So when that transition happened, one of the decisions was, and I will be honest, it's a little bit for clickbait, which I'm totally okay with, but I was like, we're going with fair play rules because here's why the NFL is a business, and what we know about the NFL, especially today's NFL, is that if 3 plays and beat you, they're gonna run 3 plays and beat you. And this was at a time where, like, the shotgun wildcat stuff was, like, really hot. And in Madden, I still say today, shotgun runs are like an easy 10 to 12 yards every time. Like it just, I don't know why, it just doesn't seem to like block them up and protect against them very well on the defense. And I know that the counter argument is, well, you can do these 19 million adjustments and stop it. Yeah, the point is that I don't want to make 19 million adjustments. I'm an old dude. I can't think that fast. I don't want us, for me and you to have a fun game. You got to make 55 adjustments before the play. I got to make 85 adjustments before my defensive play. We're moving people around. We're messing up the AI. We're screwing everything up. Like, I just want to line up, make a couple adjustments if they're needed from time to time, and play ball. Number one, it's a animation based game. And you can tell I get a little passionate about this stuff, but it's an animation game. You start moving players around and move like you just screw up all the AI. You screw up all the mechanics of how the game is supposed to be played. I still fully believe the game is supposed to be played as close to 50 on sliders and as close to the least amount of adjustments and movements. That's the purest form of how Madden was created to be played. And we start doing all this other stuff because the game has flaws, right? And so I was like, I don't want to simulate what you see on Sundays because what you see on Sundays is if I can run shotgun draws on you and get 15 yards of play, I'm going to run shotgun draws until you stop it. If I can put up 55 on you and you can't stop me, then I'm going to put up 55. I'm not trying to simulate that. What I am trying to do is create an even playing field where my lowest owner feels like if he builds the right team and practices hard enough that he has an opportunity to beat the top guy. Whereas we know, if you play it just a regular online game where there are no rules, like the top dogs are going to be the top dogs. They're really good at clicking. They understand the way to play the game. They understand the movements. They like drill down and how they can move players around and do what they need to do to make it work. That's not what we're trying to do. I'm trying to keep an even playing field. And so I think I'm saying basically the same thing sim is. I'm purposely, intentionally not using the word sim because in my point of view, which is just my point of view, I'm not trying to simulate what you see on Sundays. I'm not trying to simulate shotgun runs and spread offenses. I'm not trying to simulate sending everybody deep and running with my quarterback on a 3rd and 2. Like I'm trying to keep things fair. I'm trying to keep things where everyone has an opportunity. where you and I are forced to mix up our playbook. We're forced to mix up how we call plays. And I think because I still believe the best experience in the world is when you and I are playing a game, Bradley, and it's a chess match. You do something to me, I adjust. I do something to you, you adjust. And there's just like this back and forth. That is the still one of the most fun, enjoyable experiences ever. Where at the end of a game, you can really sit back, win or lose, going, man, that was fun. Man, he beat me. I messed up on these few plays, but man, I had a chance. It was right there. That was a fun experience. Instead of like, oh crap, that animation clicked and like that's not what I wanted to do. Or man, he ran the freaking cover two zone 900 times. Like that's not like I have this like thing that clicks off of me. I've been playing this game so long. Like if I see cover two zone 3 times in a row, I'm done. I don't care if it's the first quarter. I'm already like, I'm done with this game. This is not fun anymore. But that like back and forth, that real like even if you're like a way better player than me, this idea like you're mixing it up, you're playing by, OMFL, you're playing it by our rules, and now I got to like focus. I got to concentrate about how do I beat this guy? How can I think through a chess match of I'm going to try this, I'm going to try that, I'm going to try this. That is still a super fun experience. So, yeah, our rules are very similar to a lot of sim rules. I just took you the preacher route, my bad. Very similar to sim rules. We call them fair play. And the idea is just basically to force each other to mix it up, to not lean on anything in particular, and to really create an atmosphere where it's a nice, even, fair game where you and I can have a chess match of back and forth.
You mentioned, so I kind of want to touch on one thing before we move on, but you mentioned that with your fair play rules, you're not trying to simulate everything you see in the NFL. I think saying that there might be some people with that sim mentality that will be like, hey, and that like throw up a red flag for them. But to that, I would respond to that individual. I would respond, how do you simulate every aspect about the NFL? I don't think you can. For example, like how many leagues last year claimed to be a sim league? However, they had the ridiculous sack numbers that were in Madden 20. How can you claim to be a
The
league
truth is,
simulating?
we don't want sim because sim stats would be boring.
Yeah,
The top sacker, usually in the NFL is like that 15 to 17. We see numbers one year that were like in the 50s. And I was
yeah,
going nuts. I was like, "Oh my God!" And the guys in the league were praising. I'm like, "Finally, we have pressure." I'm like, "My God, of course we do. There's 50 sacks a game." Like I think some of those stats, right, are boring of a gameplay. Like
yeah,
I'm again, uh, if we allow 50 sacks, but the game feels natural, it feels fair. Like no one has this weird thing going on where they're not cheating, but they're taking advantage of a flaw. Then yeah, I'm not okay with it, but I'm kind of okay with it, right? Like we're gonna make some adjustments and do some things, but it's like, how do we make it a fun experience, not necessarily like a simulated experience perfectly? And I also like my argument's always like that's a business and those dudes get paid millions of dollars to only focus on finding your flaws and beating those flaws. That's not we all have full-time jobs and families, and like what I want to do is be able to plug in a game where you and I feel like we both have a shot. We both understand how to play this game. We're not taking advantage of flaws, which is my biggest thing about fair play is like the game is flawed. It always will be. It's a video game. It's not a perfect thing. It's animation based. There's going to be like all of these things about the game that are going to be flawed and messed up. Let's not take advantage of those because we can and because it works. Let's instead try to avoid as much of that as we can and just have a nice, even back and forth chess match of a game. That's still a really, really top experience. Then, well, if I call this play and slide protection here and hot route this here, then it's unstoppable. Or,
yeah,
the clickbait videos of run the most unstoppable defense in the game. And you watch them and it's like, you got to make these 19 adjustments and move this player here and then go here and move this player. It's just like, how's that fun to people? I don't know. It clearly is fun for a lot of people. It's just not fun for me.
yeah. So there's something else that y'all do over in the OMFL that I wanted to touch on. It's something that I've always kind of been interested in. I've always been, every time I've heard you guys talk about it and the content you do, my ears always peak up. And I kind of floated the ideal of something similar to some of the guys over in our league, and I feel like the guys that I've been rolling with for a very long time. I feel like most of them are a bunch of old men set in their ways, unwilling to change because we've always done it this way, so that's how we're going to do it. So when I floated this ideal, I totally expected them to be like, "No, that's dumb. We're not doing that." But that's not what I got. A lot of people seem to be receptive to it and interested in it, and that is the ideal of import players. For those who may not be familiar with it, what exactly are import players?
Yeah, you talked about it a while ago. I think the leagues that, float to the top to me in the community are the leagues that are being innovative and they're creating innovative stuff. I also really, really dig communities and leagues, whether they're mad at League Crawler, they're poppy at Daddy Leagues. Soden, I think, examples this really well with Soden Bowl. I enjoy communities that give and don't want really anything back. Like a lot of people will give with the string of like, but I want you this back, right? Like just be a creator that gives out. And so you said it when I can't remember if it was during the podcast or before we got started, this idea of like learning from others' innovation and tweaking it and changing it. That's where the best innovation comes. Like, you don't always have to be the guy creating something out of the blue. I'm a big believer that nothing can just be created out of the blue. Everything is like inspired by something else. It's like, how do you take it though and make it your own and make it very personal? And so for me, my community, A, is all about building relationships. How do we build the best relationships for people through gaming? And then C, I just skipped B. What am I doing? Geez, I need another cup of coffee. B, how do I create engagement? I want people engaged. How do I get you to come engage with me? I don't care if you lose every game and go 0 and 16, or if you go 16 and well, I kind of care if you go 16 and 0 over and over and over again because that sucks for everybody else. We have a guy who does that. Literally, I have a guy who could probably be a millionaire by just playing Madden competitively, and I'm like, how's it fun to beat up on us every single year? Like, go do something else, man. But anyway, we I want guys to come engage. And so I'm constantly thinking of like, how do I create engagement in my community, in my league? How do I create something that gets you to come engage with me? And so everything that we do is based around this idea of engagement. So we have an incentive plan that incentivizes guys to create content, to be engaged, their chat levels in Discord, their tweets, their articles, their videos, they all get you points. At certain amount of points, you get either gold, bronze, or gold, silver, or bronze levels of incentives, and they're just like little things, like 3 XP that you can spend in specific areas, and one extra trade or one extra reset. Like it gives you like these little incentives for being engaged. And so one of those things a couple of years ago was just like one of the really fun things that I miss about the PC days. Number one, I miss that I just didn't do a good job of recording the history. And there's so much really amazing history and amazing humans that came through the OMFL over 20 years that I wish I'd have held on to that a little bit better. I used to let people who were better at that do that. And the problem with that is like when they leave, you kind of lose it. There wasn't a good handoff. Ever since we moved to the grown folks, I've been doing a much better job of keeping our history. So we've got 5 or 6 or 7 years of history now. But back then, I used to think so. I had a graphic. This is where the idea came from. I had a graphic artist that used to build websites back in the day. He lived in Florida. His name was Bry. I wish I could find him. I've looked for him many, many times since. He built our first like hardcore up to OMFL, up to us sports is where I work. I almost said that, but our OMFL website. And it was freaking like, it was mind blowing. I can still picture it. I've tried to find it online. It, of course, doesn't exist out there. And he made these awesome like cutouts of like top notch players and kind of had them in the banner. It was just this awesome, awesome website. And I was like, man, I wish guys would know because I had drafted this like really awesome middle linebacker way back in like '04, '05, and he was like on the banner. I was like, I wish guys would have knew about these like awesome Madden generated players. I was like, well, wait a minute. We could create them. How could we do that? And so we came up with this idea of import players. And the idea behind it is that when you are invested into a Madden generated player, a guy that you drafted, a guy that you built up, if you could pick one of those guys that could come with you into the next Madden, you're more engaged, you're more invested. You've kind of got more time and energy tied up into that player. So you're going to be more engaged into your team. If you're more engaged to your team, you'll be more engaged into your games, the league, and like it just creates this really awesome experience. And so what we did is we allowed every player. One year we allowed everybody to pick two, and it was too many. It was just number one, it was a lot of freaking work. Number two, it was just way too many good players to add to an out of the box game. So we were like, everybody picks one. And then over the years, we learn how to do what's called norming. And so what we do is we just finished our last season a couple of days ago. So we simmed the off season. We're doing a paused draft for round one and round two. Then we'll send the rest of the draft. And then wherever the game sits in preseason week one, you get to pick one player from your team, a Madden generated player, and you get him right there. That age, that contract, whatever he is, that's the way you're going to get him in the next Madden. So if he's on a 5th-year option, if he's a rookie, if he's up for contract, just signed $100 million contract, whatever it is, wherever he's at, that's how you're going to get him. And what we do is we just take the out of the box roster. We find the lowest of the low players, the 40s and 50s and overall, and we just edit in those 32 players. So we change 32 of the low-based players into whatever the imports are. So I do a video of every single import. We put them on YouTube. We go back, watch that video, edit up that roster, upload that roster, and start our franchise from there. One of the things that we learned how to do was to do what we call norming. And so we take the top, I think it's the top 15 players, top 12 players in all of Madden, the top 12 overall players in speed and agility by attribute. So the top 5 or the top 12 speed guys, the top 12 catch guys, the top 12 throw-in power guys, and we take the average of those top 12. So I think we usually throw out the top guy, we throw out the bottom guy, and then we average the other 10. And that is the ceiling that anybody can be at. So let's say throw-in power, for instance, the average of the middle 10 guys is 94 throw-in power. That's the ceiling. So if my import has 99 throw-in power, he's going to be edited down to 94 throw-in power. And the reason we do this is so that we're not introducing 32, 99 overall guys with 99 overall everything across the board. Like that would really throw a franchise off, I think. And so doing that norming kind of norm sets and still gives you a really great player that's going to be in the top of the league if you've built him that way, but doesn't introduce a whole new slew of guys that really messes up. And again, it builds excitement. The worst thing, in my opinion, as a commissioner, is that last season. Because once I've lost, 7 games, 8 games, I'm like, I'm not going to make the playoffs. There's no reason to play. There's no reason for me to be engaged. And now it's a chore to play because there's nothing to look forward to. This kind of adds in some excitement. Plus, it usually happens during the summer. So, guys, especially this summer, I don't know about you, Bradley, but COVID and summertime, dudes are checked out, and I don't blame them. I've been locked in my house for almost 2 years, it feels like, and I get it. You want to be outside, you want to do things. So this kind of builds in some excitement about this last draft. Guys are looking at their team. They're looking at the team they might get in Madden. They're making some decisions. It just adds some engagement to kind of pull us through these summer months. And it's just been a really fun thing. And we also do a Hall of Fame. So any Madden generated player can be at the end of the Madden cycle, can be put out there or nominated. That's the word I'm looking for the Hall of Fame. And then our board kind of looks at them and votes on them. And so, when guys bring them over multiple Maddens, they have great stats. And these are usually really top tier players who've been making an impact in the league. And we build up this really cool Hall of Fame. So now we can look back and go, oh man, remember that guy drafted in 07? And I built him up for 2 Maddens and he finished with, as the all-time OMFL sack leader. That's something super cool and engaging that you can look back on. And that's the reason we do import players.
Have you guys had a player be imported multiple Maddens?
Yeah, we had a middle linebacker. Usually guys import like cheap guys or rookie guys,
Yeah.
right? Like they want to get the youngest guy possible and the cheapest contract that they can bring over. But we did have one guy who led the league in interceptions one year as a linebacker. He was like 32 and just signed like $120 million contract, and he still bought him over like I think a third Madden, and he ended up retiring from the league. Like went through his whole career in the OMFL and retired. Very few of those have happened, but we've had a handful. Usually, like the top tier guys. Usually, like quarterbacks. Usually, sometimes like. We'll have a couple of receivers. Usually, those top tier guys will go over multiple Maddens. I think we've only had one go over three Maddens because yeah, guys are like, I'm not bringing over a 34-year-old player. But this one guy couldn't help himself. He was bringing him over.
Do it for the legacy. That's cool.
Yeah.
So shifting gears a little bit, just a couple more things to touch base with you on. This one's a big pivot from everything else we've been talking about. So you're a man of many hats. I know you mentioned you got all this you're doing in the gaming sphere. You're a pastor. You're a husband. You're a father. You're about to be a grandfather. Talk to me about work life balance.
It
How do
hurts even
you?
worse when you say it. I'm too young to be a grandfather, I feel like. This is the funny thing is like even I don't know how you feel at your age. I don't want to put your age out there, but I can still feel in my 20s outside of like my body just randomly hurts all the time. It's I I think work life balance is a little bit of the figment of an imagination. I think it's just balance in life, like just balance in general. And it can be really hard. And um, I can say that I've had in the last 2 years, I keep saying 2 years, it has been 2 years, year and a half. I've really just like embraced work. Like I've always worked. Like again, my parents' businesses. I grew up in a broken home, divorced family. Both of my parents though owned businesses, and so it didn't matter if I was with my dad on the weekends working at his business or with my mom Monday through Friday working at her business. Like I just have always worked, and so I don't know about a lot of people, but like as an adult, I'm like I don't want to work nearly as much. I've worked my entire life, but I've kind of embraced like this is where I am. I have a really great job. I'm lucky, and I don't have to thank God, work manually with my hands because no one would want me to work with my hands on their house or anything like that. And so I have a really great job where I get to work with coaches and sports, which is a big impact on my life. And then my wife and I decided to start a church community during COVID, which is probably the dumbest thing I've ever done in my whole life. But I enjoy like that's my passion is to help people experience the best relationships possible, with the ultimate relationship being with Jesus Christ. But even if you're not into Him and you're not into religion, neither am I. You can still experience really great relationships in your life. And then I've had to embrace because just like a story that I think we may cover here in a minute. Um, we all have moments like I'm filled with doubt, Bradley, all the time. I'm like you see guys like Eric Rayweather, which I have so much respect for. Like this dude, I don't know his story. I've tried to meet him a few times. He actually lives here in my city somewhere. I'm too small of a fish in the pond to get his attention, but I have so much respect for YouTubers and like this dude's got almost 400,000 followers. People don't realize how hard that is. Like it is so freaking hard. It is so much work to build that type of following and it is what I am working towards in many different areas of my life. And so um when I see guys like that, it inspires me to like just put in the work. And there have been many times where I'm like, I don't want to do this commissioner thing anymore because managing a league is like herding cats sometimes. It is literally like I tell guys all the time in my league, I'm the maintenance man. Like it sounds cool to call yourself a commissioner. It sounds kind of cool to call yourself the founder of the grown folks community. I'm the maintenance guy. Everybody lives in an apartment building, and I'm the guy who handles all the poo poo when your toilet's backed up. I'm the guy that fix your doors when they're broke. I'm the guy that handles the disputes between neighbors. I'm the guy who sweeps the floors and mops the grounds and cuts the grass. That's my job. Like as the commissioner, I get all the not fun stuff that I get. That's what you sign up to do. How do you really work really really hard? And that wears you down sometimes, right? And we all have these moments where I'm like, this ain't worth it anymore. I'm not going to do this. And every time I go to do that, I just think of the relationships here and the guys who say, yo, this is my escape. Life is tough. This is hard. These things are happening. This is my escape that I can unplug and it re-energizes me to do this again. So I just taking you again the scenic route to say, I told you, Bradley, I can turn a sentence into a novel. It is all about finding balance in life. What I actually embrace the work because I actually find fulfillment in creating a space, in creating content that's engaging. I'm constantly working on my craft of like being on camera and speaking because I am like a C-level student in life. And because of that, I got to work really hard. Guys like you, Bradley, it just comes naturally. And you're just full of charisma and energy. Like I have to like work really, really, really hard to just be right at average. And it drives me to be better at my craft, both in my profession and what I do, both as a spiritual leader, even though I hate that phrase. I don't really, I'm just a dude who's walking it out with people or here in the gaming community. I've tried to like embrace what grown folks represents and like really lean into gathering other communities, other Madden leagues by really cool people that I dig to come be a part of our community. Not so I can say, look at what I built, but just because, like, if they're cool people and when I got other cool people, I want all those cool people to meet and create this community where we all feel safe and we can all enjoy like a bigger experience than maybe just my Madden league. And to be honest, we've hit and missed on that, right? I've had some 2K leagues. I've had some Madden leagues come and join. And I can't tell you, it's tough sometimes, like, because I'm still human and I get frustrated and mad and angry like every other human on the planet. I put in so much work for at least three Madden leagues that have joined us. And like in a month, they're like, oh, this ain't working. We're leaving. I'm like, are you kidding me? I made a logo. I made Discords. I made forums. I put you on the website. I tweeted you out. I made you YouTube playlist. I made you YouTube graphics. And in a month, you're deucing? Okay, whatever. Like that's tough. That's the moments where you're like, why am I doing this? Like, I literally am working three full-time jobs. I work 40 plus hours a week at my professional job. As soon as I get off of that, I'm usually making content either for the gaming community or for my pastors, my church community, or I'm sitting here editing. Like I'm trading time that I could be spending with my wife or my family to do this. And I'm not saying that to get a pat on the back or to make people feel sorry for me. It's what I signed up to do. It's what I want to do. And to be honest, I take care of my wife in other ways. Like we have date nights every Friday night, and I Saturday mornings are our time to go out and kind of do things for us. And between 6 and 8 o'clock, I don't play games. I'm not online. I kind of that's family time, right? And so, like, I'm very specific about laying out my schedule. And in my life, it works. My wife is an early to bedder, and so by 9:30, she's in bed, if not sooner. And so I got a couple hours to either do some streaming or do some gaming with the guys, or make content or make graphics, right? And so it all goes back to balance. Like, how do I just find balance in life and then do it in a way that energizes me and helps me um, find what keeps me going. And for me, it's I love to create content, and I actually like. It's easy to Bradley to get caught up on follows. Like our YouTube is under 400 people. We're pushing for 1,000, but the honest truth is we're under 400 people. My YouTube for my church, which I just started like 8 months ago, is like under 30 people. Like by no means am I blowing this out of the water, but it's easy to get caught up in like follows and likes and retweets and who wants me on their podcast and who does, like all of this stuff. It's like I just enjoy creating, honestly. And if nobody ever watches it and just my 32 dudes in my league dig it, and probably not all 32 even dig it, maybe it's 15 of them dig it, I'm totally cool with that. I'm just going to do what I like to do. And if people dig me and they dig what we're doing, they'll come be a part of it. And if they don't, they won't. And there's like a zillion other things on YouTube that they can go watch. And so I'm always trying to do how can I do things that energize me, like creating content, like being creative. I love like just trying to create the dumbest thing in the world. Talk about ranting. My God, what am I doing right now, Bradley? Just shut me up. Just tell me, Nate, shut up. But
Nah,
one of the
keep going, man.
dumbest things in the world that I find so much pleasure in doing is creating YouTube thumbnails. I have had so much fun creating YouTube thumbnails. It's the dumbest thing in the world. It's a box this small that people can see, but it is so much fun to try to be creative and catch people's attention with your thumbnail. And the YouTube shorts, right? So anyway, long story short, or long story longer, I should say, is that I enjoy creating content that energizes me. I enjoy creating an atmosphere where guys dig it and they find friends. Like that, one of the coolest things is in our PUBG community. Like there's several teams playing all on the same night, and that just is really cool to me that these guys have all like found these connections. And my next couple things I'm aiming for is not only 1,000 subs so that we can start to do some really cool stuff with a affiliate program with YouTube, the YouTube news, but also like women gamers. Like I want to get some women gamers. We got a couple in our community, but it's like I want to get some ladies that come and game with me. Like I really want to create like this well-rounded community where people are like, you know what? That place is kind of like a family, and I want to go be a part of that. And that's ultimately what we're trying to do. So long story even longer is that you just got to find balance in what makes you happy and balance that with your life. And so, for me, I run a couple of different leagues and the community. I'm the main creator, not by choice, not because I want to be. I'm looking for other creators to come help me because I definitely don't want to be the only guy. But because of that, I don't get to just focus on the OMFL, and that means that maybe I don't create amazing graphics like Soden, or maybe I'm not doing all the super cool, cutting edge, innovative stuff for my Madden League because my attention is kind of drawn in a lot of different places. But that's what brings me energy and pleasure, and so balancing that with being a dad and balancing that with being a husband, making sure my wife is my number one priority. Um, Case in point, again, I kind of hesitate saying this because I know the reaction. I'm supposed to do a live stream tomorrow morning. I'm off work Thursday and Friday. I took a couple days off to do some catch up content work. So I was going to do a live stream for Madden tomorrow morning, which was going to be awesome. We did one for Battlefield a week ago, whatever. And it was awesome. Just live stream. Let's watch it together. Let's do some real reactions. But then we found out last night that there was a death in our family. And so I actually have a funeral to go to. So it sucks, but hey, that comes first. Like life comes first. And I won't be on the cutting edge of the news content when it comes out, right? Like everyone's going to beat me to the punch, but I'll do a live stream when I get home and I'm fine with it. And it won't be nearly as like out there early and it probably, as fresh, but we do what you got to do sometimes. And if at the end of the day, creating content is what brings me balance and energy and re-energizes me, then I'm just going to do that. I don't know if any of that was useful.
Definitely, definitely. So kind of piggybacking off this, there's something that I want to kind of, I don't know the best way to go into this. So I mentioned I've been in the Madden space for probably about 10 years, and I'm starting to realize something. I'm becoming, I feel like I'm becoming one of the old men, Nate. I'm noticing a handful of leagues that are beginning to emerge, led by a lot younger commissioners, and they're starting to build communities that are scaling a lot younger. And there's a couple of them that really stick out to me. One in particular, it's probably what I believe to be one of the most impressive leagues out there. I'm not going to drop the name of it because, for reasons, and we'll get into it. But there's this one league that scales a lot younger that really sticks out to me, and the commissioner, the founder there, built something absolutely amazing. But he recently stepped away from it, and I was chatting with him privately about it, and he was talking to me about all these frustrations that he had with the league and how he didn't feel like what was built was what he wanted. And he was looking at all of these other leagues that had like community members that were just like the utmost faithful to the community, and he didn't feel like his guys were the same way towards his leagues as other guys are towards other leagues. But when I look at what he built, what this guy has built, and the community that stands, to me, it's one of the most impressive communities out there. What would you say to this individual that has built this amazing thing, and when he looks at it, what he sees is frustration? What would you say to him?
Yeah, and number one, I think it's natural. I think number one, it's just embracing this is a very natural ebb and flow of just being a leader. And I think too many leaders in our lives, just in general. As you probably can see with me, I don't like to put things in a box. I think it's real easy to talk about, what I do as a Madden commish and what I do in my profession and what I do over here, and like all these boxes that us dudes can get in. I'm Nate. I am the same Nate that runs a Madden community is the same Nate that's a husband to Tiffany, and the same dude that's a dad and grandfather and a professional and a direct. Like all of these are just different titles that other people have given me. But I don't let those titles stick me in a box. So anyway, I say it's very natural, and I think too long we don't have leaders who embrace us saying like it's natural to doubt, it's natural to want to quit, it's natural to want to give up. I would say that Madden leagues are a little bit like social media, right? That's the reason I don't do social media. I post stuff, but I try not to read social media because we present what we want everybody to think our lives are like. And you're like, holy cow, look at how great their lives are. Like, my life sucks. My life isn't like that. It's just not good for our mental health. And as you know, with this story in particular, it's not always that way behind the scenes. Like, we can definitely present one thing and it's definitely another behind the scenes. I will fully embrace that. I thought that this was going to be the last year the OMFL existed. It just, there was so much like turmoil and disagreement with the game of Madden 21 in our league. I was like, you guys are driving me nuts and I just can't handle this anymore. I'm too old for this stuff. And I pushed through it and I had to work through it. And I do a lot of that stuff, not necessarily in a good way, but like just very real time with my guys. So like on podcasts, if I'm having a rough day with guys, you're going to know it on my podcast. So I would encourage him that this is natural. And once you understand it's natural, you can kind of lean into it a little bit, embrace it. Again, I'm a big Simon Sinek guy. It's important to find out your why. It's important to find out what it is that's inside of you that drives you as a human, not just in Madden, not just in as a human, like a relationship, a mom, a dad, a husband, a wife, whatever it is that role you play there. As a professional, like what is it about these areas in your life that really pushes you, that makes you wake up every day? For me, Bradley, is uh, it's relationships. Like I grew up with very little relationships. I think we figured it up. I lived in 20 to 22 different homes. And it's not because we're a military family. Single mom, moved around. This was all in like the same two little cities. I went to like 12 or 15 different schools. So I never grew up excuse me, going to the same schools as like long, term best friends. I never had long time friends. I had no family. I had no aunts and uncles and grandparents. Like I just didn't have that experience.
Yeah.
And that those things in my life taught me the importance of relationships. And because of that, that's my why. I want people to experience the most fulfilling relationships in life. I choose to do that as a pastor. I choose to do that in creating a Madden league. I choose to do that in creating a gaming community. I choose to do that right in all of these different areas. So finding out your why. Why did you decide to start a Madden League? What is it about creating a community of humans to play a video game that made you want to do that and then stick to that? Like once that's your why, then it doesn't matter if other people dig it or not. We all want to be accepted. We all want to feel like our work is appreciated. None of us want to, put in, 80 hours a week in creating content and then go look on YouTube and see zero views. No one wants that. Like
Yeah.
I'm not going to begin to pull the facade over anybody. No one wants it. That hurts. That sucks. It's part of the process of working through. But when you know your why, that is ultimately your guiding light, right? That's the thing that really drives you. I also am a big believer with every human who creates a Mad League or a gaming community, whatever you create in life, a business, a hobby, whatever it is, a group of people that go bowling on Tuesdays. What is your vision? Spell that out, be able to articulate that in detail, and then stick to that. Find the people who get that. And if they don't get that, be willing to say goodbye. one of the greatest gifts that we can give ourselves is the gift of goodbye, of saying, I like you like me, this ain't personal, but you don't get this. And so good luck. We'll wish you luck. I know that I don't know. I hesitate just because I don't want anybody to feel called out. But the guy who started, what is it called? Oh, crap. Daddy, it's skipping my brain, but it's like the dad's like gaming community, the dad's Madden League, whatever it
I
is.
know what
I
you're
It's
talking
Daddy
about.
something,
I
and I don't know
forget the
why
name
I'm
of it, but I know what you're talking about.
I don't know why it's Monday. Not, I mean, it's not Monday. See, that's how freaking out of it I am. I need more coffee. But anyway, he used to be in our gaming community. It just didn't quite work out. And he was like, he needed to go do his own thing. And I've always supported that. Sometimes we're not what everyone needs, and that's okay. And sometimes they're not what we need. And so sometimes you just got to be willing to say, this is my vision, this is what I'm creating. And you either get that or you don't. If you don't get that, I'm okay. I'm going to go find more. I'm going to put in the work to go find more owners and embrace like turnover. And if you do that enough times, if you make enough right decisions, if you make enough right turns, what you'll find is that over time, you actually build a community of people that get you. They get your voice, they get your vision, they want to be a part of it. My, I don't want to say anything out of turn, but I think the last 5 years we've had three owners turn over from Madden to Madden. And it's because most of the league has been together for a while. They all get the vision. They all want to be a part of this. I always tell people, if you think the grass is greener over there, if you think they're a better leader, then please, like, I want you to enjoy your experience. Go do that. Like, go try their league out. Go be under them. And what I find is that 89% of the time they come back.
Yeah.
The grass isn't always greener. That league that looked sexy and cool and innovative, and that dude who looked like he was super nice doesn't always work out that way. And they always come back looking for a place. Rarely do guys leave. A handful that do, but rarely do guys leave and not ask to come back sooner or later. And I think that that speaks to me going, okay, this is the vision, this is where we're going, and we're going to stick to it. Including one last quick story would be, we had a guy that ran two sets of Madden leagues in our community, but his owners were never engaged. They never left their chat. They never engaged with the community. They never played in anything else. We do a fundraiser every year because honest, I need to run this, and I'm not wealthy with a bunch of expendable income, so I can't do it by myself. And so we have to have community guys help us if we want websites and logos, and like all this cool stuff that we try to do, and giveaways and merch and all that stuff. Um, they wouldn't give him the fundraiser, so I was just like, brother, like our community is about engagement. So like, how do we get you more engaged? How do we get your guys? Like, what do we do? And the excuse was, well, our guys are busy, which is, I hate that excuse.
Yeah.
We're all busy. I'm not sitting around with nothing to do. Like, none of us are sitting around bored. Like, oh, I'll just play video games all day. We're all freaking busy. We all have families. It's where you choose to spend your time. So anyway, the long and short of it is, we just kind of agreed that they were going to go a different way and than us, and we had to part ways, and it sucked. But I was sticking to the vision. So I would tell that guy, let me plug up my computer real quick.
You're good. You're good.
See, this is what happens when you forgot to plug your computer in and it comes up, hey, I'm about to die. Anyway, I would encourage him, figure out your why. Maybe you already know your why. Be able to articulate your vision and then speak that vision until people get it and they come and they want to be a part of it. I think killing this competitive vibe that's in a lot of us, of like competing to be the best, and like that's very finite. um Play the infinite game, and the infinite game is a game that never ends and perpetuates itself. The grown folks community will outlive me. One day I will finally retire and walk away from gaming because probably I have arthritis and I'm in my 80s and it's not cool to game anymore. But when that day comes, I will hand it to someone and it will continue to live beyond me. It will go be the OMFL, I hope, is here for another 20 years, because I created things that don't need me. I could walk away right now. I could literally send a few messages, retire, disappear from the planet, and those communities would be fine because it didn't create them to be about me. I created them with a vision, and it's attracted people who get that vision, want to be a part of that vision, and one day it will live beyond me. So create something bigger than you, push through, be a giver. And when you're a giver with no expectations, then it doesn't matter what other people think or if they get it or if they want to be a part of. Like, I'm just giving because that's where I find my energy. And so I'd encourage them to just step into that, lean into that. Sometimes be okay with taking a break. Sometimes you need a break,
Yeah.
right? Like sometimes you just gotta like, I just need to take a step back, regather myself, rethink, take a rest, take a break, and then I'm gonna get back into it. I'm gonna do it even bigger and better, and I'm gonna keep growing. I'm gonna keep sticking true to who I am as a person.
Very nice. Couldn't agree more. Well, Nate, I appreciate you being on here so much. We've been at this for over an hour, almost an hour and 15 minutes, man.
Holy cow.
Time flies. Time
Bradley, my
flies.
wife doesn't want to talk to me that long. How
Uh,
did you do it?
I don't know. Mine doesn't want to talk to me that long either. Hey, well, thanks again for being on here, man. I wish you the best, and I look forward to seeing what you got coming out in the near future. For those who may not know where to
It
find
is,
you,
it has
where
been,
can people find you?
thank you, man. It has been a true honor. Thank you so much. Again, this is not something I take lightly. I feel like I don't ever deserve to be on anyone's podcast. So it really is an honor, and I appreciate you. And, I would love to, this is the first time you and I have really, really connected in quite some time. So I'd love to even figure out, a partnership between our communities. I'm always looking for partners. And
Yeah,
it's just like, how can we share other really cool things that people are doing and really help support each other? So you can find us on all social media, Grown Folks online community. And so on Twitter is really where we're very active. We do have a Twitch channel, which is mainly not a lot of sexy streams, just like normal streams, no camera, very few, voices. They're like the whole community's kind of added to our Twitch stream. I stream on YouTube, and so every Sunday night we go live at Press Pass Live, and then several times throughout the week we go live with just my gaming stream. So I'll game either usually PUBG, Battlefield, or Madden. Right now we're on a little bit of a Madden break, and so not too much Madden right now. We also have our same channel, Grown Folks, on YouTube, our Grown Folks Online Community, I think it is our news channel. And so we have some news sections there around Battlefield, PUBG, Madden 2K, NCAA, and I'm skipping maybe a couple of others that are in there. So we're putting out news. My guy Pootie T, Win, a couple of these guys are helping me put out news. And then our website, grownfolksoc.com. If you just want to see our content, all the different leagues are listed there. If you're looking for like a second or third or fourth man league, if you're one of those crazy dudes, we've got some really cool dudes that are doing some really cool stuff. So I'm a follow back human because it doesn't bother me. And so if you come give us a follow, expect to get followed right back. And yeah, I appreciate being here with you and you taking an hour and a half of your time and day to be with us. And this is awesome. So I really appreciate you.
no problem. Hey, well, have a good one, Nate. Those watching, thank you so much for checking it out. Peace.